very important.
With 200 million young people aged 18 to 24, Africa has the largest population of young people in the world. In Sub-Saharan Africa, most potentially employable young people either suffer from underemployment or poor work conditions if they can get work. According to a special report from the United Nations, young people account for 60% of Africa's jobless population. And as you may already know, South African youth continues to bear the burden of unemployment with a staggering 63.9 unemployment rate for youth between 18 and 24. Good morning and welcome all. I didn't mean to scare you, trust me, those are just stats. My name is Luyanda Duma and I'm going to be your host and moderator for today's CEO and Youth Connect. This is the part where you clap, guys. And also here, the virtual claps, thank you so much. I paid the crowd to do that for me. Additional to that, I am an HR professional, commonly known as your HR enthusiast across all social media platforms, but I'm also an entrepreneur, budding philanthropist, as well as a conversationalist. But I'm not here alone. I'm here with a very esteemed panel of guests, so we are in good company. Make sure that you have your questions ready, because how often do we get the chance to sit with CEO and executives like we know each other? Not very often. Heidi, how are you doing this morning?
Good morning. Very well, thank you.
Lovely. Please tell us a bit about yourself and the organization that you're coming from.
Great. Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. I'm Heidi Nelson, and I'm the SVP for Publicis. Publicis is a collection of creative and production and media brands hosted here in South Africa and then also across the continent of Africa. We operate in 36 countries across the continent. Publicis has been involved with All4Youth, and this is our third time that we are represented here today. And I think the key involvement for us as the Publicis is the fact that youth is the future. It's the future for our industry. Being in the creative industry, we have lots of very young, energetic, creative and amazing people that come into our agencies and into our brands. So it's a really important initiative. It's a really important alliance that we have here. And it's wonderful to be here with all of you this morning, both virtually and great to see people in the room for the first time in 3 years.
I mean, thank you for reminding us that the future is youth, but first the future is female, then youth, because we always need to put ourselves first. And it's so amazing that this year's panel is predominantly women. So, Womandla, no offense to the guys, I'm sorry. Thank you so much. Asif, how are you doing?
Very good, Luanda. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And my name is Asif Ali. I'm the National Technology Officer at Microsoft. My role spans policy and regulation at Microsoft, working with government closely, but also working on technology and driving technology awareness within the market and within our customers. But beyond that, obviously, Microsoft's role in South Africa spans a number of areas, both from the development of our customers' businesses, digital transformation within our customers, and obviously helping customers along the journey to transform the organization to be more digitally sound. But coming back to skilling, obviously, we've seen over the last 2 to 3 years the uptake and increase in skilling, specifically in technology skilling, everything from digital literacy all the way through to professional skills development. And we've been inundated with requests from both our customers as well as our partners and obviously government as well in driving skilling projects within the country. One of those such initiatives was the Global Skilling Initiative, which brought together both digital literacy as well as professional skilling, including our learning paths through LinkedIn Learning, and then obviously GitHub, which provides a place for developers to actually work and create. So all of these together, we've seen amazing uptake working with NGOs in South Africa. To date, I think we've seen over 300,000 people in South Africa actually start to consume and use the skilling services. So definitely we value the partnership here with All4Youth, and we look forward to future engagements as such. Thank you.
I'm so happy that we actually have you on the panel because I think as young people, the biggest word that we've been hearing post-COVID is that digital technology, and we have so many questions about the reskilling and upskilling, so I'm definitely going to come back and ponder on that. Nicole, how are you?
I'm really, really good, and just honored to be here with our partners on the panel. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Just a brief introduction. I'm Nicole. I'm honored to lead the Nestlé Eastern and Southern Africa region, newly appointed MD. Woo. And thank you. I think we'll talk a bit about the journey, and I'll share some reflections a little later. But really, we are privileged at Nestlé to come every day to lead with purpose. And for us, it's about unlocking the power of food to enhance future generations. And it's not just the generations today, but it's you. It's the future generations. At Nestlé, we believe that the future is all youth. We agree with you, female and youthful. But we're really, really excited that the coming together of partners like this can bring alive our vision. And really, we know that some of the conversations today are very, very topical. And for us, it's about empowering conversation, about empowering skill, but most importantly, on following through with action to see our youth advance on the continent. So again, thank you, and privileged to be here.
It's actually going to be an amazing hour because I think we're so privileged as young people to be in this room because we get to know about the opportunities that these big corporates have for people like ourselves and see how we can then capitalize on those. Natalie, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm good, and you?
I'm well, thank you.
So, Natalie Venter, I'm from ABB. I'm the country holding officer. 10 months in the role, so still getting used to it.
The females are taking up space. Guys, I hope you can see.
Responsible for governance and fiduciary for ABB South Africa. We're a multinational engineering automation company. 4 key business areas, process automation, electrification, motion, and robotics. I have a daughter writing exams at the moment, so youth it's worrying about what's going to happen for her. It's close to our heart, trying to make sure that we create the right platforms and opportunities and confidence and upskilling for everybody to be able to, let's say, engage within the economy and just participate and live. So looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you so much for joining us. Bruce, good morning.
Morning, Luanda. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
I am Bruce. I am the Managing Director of the AdCorp training brands. I'm not 10 months in. I'm 20 years into the organization and have had the most wonderful journey. We're very proud to be part of this partnership on any given day as a workforce solutions organization. We contribute to about 40,000 people and their respective families in terms of the solutions that we provide. The bulk of that team of 40,000 people is youth, so very much at the center of our organization from a purpose point of view, and very much part of our conversations in determining, the sustainability of the communities that we serve and the country that we live in. We're a South African and Australian operation. You're also very excited to be part of this conversation this morning, Luanda. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's going to be an incredible one. And last but definitely not least, Jed, who couldn't join us here today, but he is connecting with us virtually. Good morning, Jed. How are you?
Morning, Luanda. Morning, everyone. Good to be here. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. I'm Jed. I am the Managing Director of Nielsen IQ. For those who don't know what we do or who we are a data company. We are in around 90 to 100 countries, and our job is quite exciting. We measure our clients' market share, and we tell them what to do to improve. So every time any one of you buys something and it goes to the till, if it's got a barcode, we get that data, we put it together, and we can tell our clients what their market share is. With regards to youth, and particularly on the continent, it's something I'm very passionate about. I was privileged enough to spend about 3 years in West Africa. I just love this continent. I love the vibrance of the youth. I love the color, the excitement, and more importantly, I like the hunger and the entrepreneurial spirit that the youth have. We've got such a big skills shortage in the continent, and just would be so great if we could use forums like these to unlock or untap and match the skill shortage we have to the various different skill sets that are needed, that we can help accelerate our continent on the global stage, because we do have the talent and the right mindset within the continent.
And I fully agree with you there. These conversations are very much necessary to uplift the youth. Thank you so much, Jed. Thank you to our panelists for partnering with us again, and also for being here to share this knowledge with us. I think as a youth, I speak on behalf of everyone to say that we are privileged and we are so excited to be with you here today, and also to get to learn from you. And I think after the introduction and maybe after the session, I might just qualify to become either like a chief moderating officer. I don't know what you think. I mean, I'm sitting with the C-suite right now, so I kind of need to level up. I don't know what you guys think. But before we get straight into a program, there are a couple of house rules that I'd like to take you through. Where are our smartphones for our audience joining us here? Physically. Okay, I can see 2, 3. Guys, we all have smartphones. Yes, yes, yes. This is a device that is going to help you win some amazing prizes. So please do use it throughout this whole session. You can expect, obviously, a very much jam-packed program, very short, but also very insightful, because I think our panelists are ready to give us valuable information. But we are running a competition as well, where we will be giving out some amazing prizes that you can get to win simply by engaging. So I need the Twitter fingers, I need the Instagram fingers, and using our hashtags for the day, which are hashtag CEO&YOUTH Connect, hashtag All4Youth, hashtag Entrepreneurship versus Intrapreneurship, which is our official topic for today. So in everything that you do, every question that you ask, don't forget to use those hashtags, and that is how you'll stand a chance to win some amazing prizes. Do you guys want to know what the prizes are? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. Nice. Okay, cool. So first up, we have a 4,000 Rand cash voucher for your business. For your business. I don't know if you're still excited, but your money is not your business money. I hope we know that as entrepreneurs. We also have 1,000 Rand voucher worth from exclusive books. So for the avid readers, anyone in the room? I know I am. Okay, if you win, you need to call me, we can share that. We also have a coaching session with one of our Alliance representatives, which is something that is very necessary. I think when it comes to us young people and growing and developing in our various journeys, you want to have a mentor, you want to have a coach. We speak very much about those things. So you have an opportunity to win yourself a coaching session today just by simply engaging. And lastly, a 3-month access to a co-working space here in Johannesburg. Guys, office space doesn't come cheap. Ask me. It doesn't come cheap, but at least you get to get it for 3 months free of charge. So shall we get into it? Yes. Are we excited? Yes. Cool. So I know following COVID, the mental health and wellness and health conversation has been quite big and broad, but also an important element for us to consider, right? Because we are all about, being holistically well, for you to be the best entrepreneur, the best intrapreneur, or the best, young person you can be and thrive in your career. It's very important to make sure that you are well, which is why we have decided to kickstart today's session by calling and inviting Bongiwe, who is a representative from the O organization, who's here to tell us a bit more about the importance of health and wellness, but also take us through some of the great work that her initiative is doing to drive impact social entrepreneurship. Good morning, Bongiwe. How are you doing?
Good morning, good morning. Thank you so much for having me here today. So just to give you a bit of insight in terms of what it is we do, I'm Bongi Ndlovu, and I currently lead the operational aspects for the Youth Against AIDS initiative, which is a project for the O Foundation, and it's currently focusing within the Southern African region. And I think in terms of why we were founded and how we were founded, just to explain the spirit of social entrepreneurship, it started with 5 pupils based in Hamburg who wanted to support a local NGO that was currently running HIV services within the community. And I guess through there, they did not want to do it the conventional way of asking for donations, but they made and sold red AIDS ribbons for World AIDS Day. And it was a success because they were able to fundraise over 300,000 Rands. And as they were handing the money through to the NGO to support them, the CEO then gave it back and said, you worked so hard, you guys figure out what to do with the money. And I guess fast track from 2009 to 2022, we now have programs running in Europe, we have programs running in America and South America and Brazil, and particularly here in Africa, which is what I'm most passionate about and leading. Within the Southern African region, we will have programs running both in South Africa and in Namibia. And I think what our core values are throughout the years has always been a spirit of ingenuity and also trying to see how we as young people can spearhead our own sexual health. I mean, if you look at our organization, it's 100% youth-led, and therefore our initiatives and even our partnerships are very different and unconventional. We believe in collaborating with government and the private sector, and just a few of the programs that we've done in the past, for example, is that we've partnered with Levi's where we designed and sold cool jackets with youth against and branding. And there as well, we know that young people will not Google and say, how do I not get infected? Because we don't really ask, or we think we know, but we do Google what's the coolest trend, what's out there. So we were able to fundraise and also be able to create awareness. Other pilot programs that we've done, for example, with Meta, because we know that most of us are on social media, so we're able to reach more young people and also create awareness and get ad spend. I think in closing, just fast-tracking to what we're doing here in South Africa, is that we've had quite a few partnerships and collaborations. For example, with VW in the Eastern Cape, we had an intention program when young people were manufacturing dispensers that we have across TVET colleges and universities. And I guess here, the biggest aim is how do we spearhead the potential of prevention through advocacy campaigns, through partnerships, and also through health literacy. And we provide health literacy and sex education, I always say, relationshipically, because most people don't care about science, but Mjolo is a pandemic that we all know is getting us down. So, and I think with young people, also that is where we get knocked up, and the teenage pregnancies are still happening, and the dropouts are still happening. And I think just in terms of statistics alone, there's still over 4,000 new HIV infections in 2022 every week, you know, and most of them are here in the region, and most of them are young women. So we are in this space providing advocacy, we provide literacy, we're looking for partnerships, and I think our World AIDS Day campaign is the Update HIV campaign, where we want to rebrand it, rethink it, because we say HIV is no longer the HIV it used to be in the 90s. Now there's preventative medications like PrEP and PEP, there's ARVs, but as I said, we provide this information relationshipically. So find us in our platforms if you're having problems, Gamjolo. If you want to find out how you can be a part of the Update HIV campaign, we are updatehiv.com. And on Instagram and TikTok, we are FAQU.za. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think the key word from that was relationshipically. Yes. Guys, we got it? Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing the amazing work that you guys do. We will be linking the websites and all the details that you did provide for us to just, when you do have time, whether you're watching online, to just check out the website and school yourself. They're all about literacy as well, educating us as young people on the opportunities, on the risk, but also the preventative measures, which is amazing. And I think, you know, it was very important for us to kickstart the conversation with this piece of information, because All4Youth is also, you know, prides itself in providing holistic support, not only just giving you the career information, but also we're giving you, you know, information on how to take care of yourself and make sure that you are healthy and you are well. And I think just to kickstart the conversation, I'm going to pull in Heidi here and put you on the spot when it comes to, you know, wellness and health. Why is it so important, I think, for young people, and I guess people in general, to pay close attention to that aspect of our lives?
Yes, it's incredibly important. I think that, you know, as a human, we always strive to be the best that we possibly can be. And a big part of being the best that you possibly can be is to be healthy, both physically and probably even more importantly, mentally. Sure. I think COVID had a huge impact on many, many, many people, not just here in Africa or South Africa, but globally around mental health. And, you know, I love the fact that the world has come out and the world is prepared to speak and talk and engage around mental health, which has not always been the case. Yeah. And there's so many resources available these days to support anybody. but most importantly, the young people of the country, the future leaders of the country, because you need to take care of yourself and don't be stigmatized. You won't be stigmatized if you reach out for help. And I encourage anybody and everybody to reach out for help and to really take care of yourself, because you will be the best entrepreneur or intrapreneur if you are healthy and you're strong as an individual, and then you'll add to the collective of a group of people.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And I think just to jump straight into our conversation for the day, we will be speaking about entrepreneurship versus intrapreneurship. So do get your questions ready, and don't forget to use the official hashtags for the day, which is hashtag CEO&YOUTH Connect, hashtag All4Youth, hashtag entrepreneurship versus intrapreneurship. Nicole, I want to start with you. You've mentioned that you've just stepped into your role. Congratulations. Can you kindly please just share with us your journey, to growth, into leadership, and how has that been for you?
Well, thank you. When I reflect, actually, I think my leadership journey started really young. And firstly, it started with the environment in which I grew up at home. So the values of respect, the values of natural curiosity, the mental health, and the space to know that I was groomed to be able to do hard things, and that home environment sort of capacitating it. Maybe I wasn't really realizing it at the time, but it starts with just being so appreciative of the values and culture in which we grow up, and Africa has so much to offer there. From there, my journey actually started in the medical environment. So I actually studied a degree in nutrition and an honors degree in dietetics, and sort of wanting to venture into the science world. Nestlé was always a very aspirational company for us. I'm not sure if you know, but Nestlé employs the largest amount of nutritionists and dietitians in the world. And so it was sort of out there. And I remember actually late one evening getting a chance to apply for the graduate program and thinking there are just so many amazing young people, would I even stand a chance? And that's really where it began. I was really fortunate to have joined Nestlé on the science graduate program 20 years ago. And I joined a science stream and almost immediately got so interested in the business side. And I think, again, to your topic today of entrepreneurship, natural curiosity for me is really a core skill for young people. So I was naturally curious that there was this really sexy thing in business, and I realized quickly that I didn't have the skills. I was interested, and so much to my parents' disappointment, I changed fields. So I had studied for 4 years and then left that and went forward. And then again realized I needed more, so went back to business school, and through the ropes at Nestlé have advanced in marketing and demand generation, but interestingly always applying my science, because we work with food, we work with science every day. And then had a chance to leave South Africa and was based in the New York office for some years. Again, amazing, learning different cultures, learning agility, learning speed. And then the boss phoned and said the holiday was over. Came back to the continent, and then really have spent 17 of my 20 years here in Africa, and inspired by youth advancement, but most importantly, diversity and inclusion. And then fast forward to sort of today, privileged by having strong female and male sponsors in my journey. I am now officially the first female CEO of Nestlé Eastern and Southern Africa. Woo! In the over 100 years of us being on the continent, we have waited and worked hard for today. So I think in summary, a leadership journey is what you make of it. I would leave it at that. And for me, it's about be curious and acknowledge when your skills gap is light. Lean in, go and get more skills, learn, grab it, and you can only go onward and upward from there. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. What a beautiful journey. And I think what we can learn from that is that not only is being curious the key, but also always allowing yourself to develop and grow. Yes, you would have, had a degree in accounting, but that doesn't mean that you can never end up in a different field if you allow yourself, to wrestle with, the development that comes into play, and constantly having people by your side to always, mentor you and give you that solid advice. So I hope we're taking down notes on how we can get there. And I think, think, having representation and seeing you in this position gives, young people and just females in general hope to say that it can be done. It can be you as well if you just put your mind to it, And I've read a book by Malcolm Gladwell where he speaks about the 10,000 hours. I don't know if you guys have spoken about that. And I think over the 20 years, you've given, your share of those 10,000 hours, and hence why you've ended up here. Lovely.
Thank you.
Bruce, if you can take us through your career and how you ended up in your position.
Yeah, Luanda, thanks. And a lot of my story actually echoes Nicole's story. I shared with everyone earlier, I've been with the AdCorp group for 20 years, but I want to go back even further than that. I qualified as a young man, and a friend of mine and myself got into a small shoemaking business. So let's call it an entrepreneurial business.
Okay.
Anyway, we spoke earlier about the risks of entrepreneurship. About 2 years later, that business failed hopelessly.
Which is normal.
I was recently engaged, and I needed to get a job. So I went to a recruitment agency, and I said, listen, can you help me? I need a job. And they came back to me and said, well, would you like to work here? I said, okay. And I became a recruitment consultant, and I spent 6 years with that business. And I've spent a subsequent 20 years with AdCorp. The point that I wanted to make, though, is that I believe a characteristic of intrapreneurship, very similarly to entrepreneurship, I think I had a little bit of entrepreneurship within myself, is the characteristic of being receptive to change, of being agile, of being open to opportunity. And often young people say to me, wow, 20 years in the same company. But I share with everyone that I think I've had 15 different roles. I've relocated my family, lock, stock, and barrel, the kids, the dogs, the cars, 3 times to 3 different locations. But as a consequence, I've had this most sort of wonderful journey within a single corporate, but fulfilling a multiple of roles. So I really feel like I've been all over the place. And you can have a successful entrepreneurial journey within a corporate, but I believe there are characteristics that you have to be receptive to enable that journey to sort of unfold. So, yeah, that's my story. Thanks very much.
And maybe if you could
Luanda.
just give us 2 or 3 of those characteristics or sort of skills that worked for you, that we as young people can kind of practice and put into use to kind of grow within whatever space or organization that we're in. Because I think for us young people, if you think 20 years in an organization, I'm just thinking no. I'm willing to do 1 or 2, 3 or 4 here in order to grow. But I think us not knowing that you can grow in a space of 20 years is also quite an important dialogue. So what are these skills that we are looking at?
Yeah, so it's important. And I think the number one thing that I've learned is that change is inevitable. And you have to be receptive to change, and you have to be positively receptive to change. If you find change difficult, then a long career or a stimulating long career within a big corporate is going to be difficult. So my number one sort of advice for everybody is to be receptive to change. And the second thing is to engage that change positively. It's not always a comfortable position to go through change, but if your mind is in a positive space, if you believe that there will be a better outlook as a consequence of that change, then that change will be a positive journey. So, there's not many attributes, but for me, that one opportunity to be receptive to change, to be positive in that change process, has opened a lot of doors for myself. And yeah, that's the one characteristic that I think people need to very clearly adopt.
Thank you for that. We're getting great tools of nuggets. I wish I could write down some notes, but I'm hoping that I can get some from you guys once we're done here. And throwing it over to you, Jed, we're talking a lot about, the difference and the similarities between, entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship. If you can just take us through how you would differentiate, or even what is similar between the 2 concepts.
Yeah, so actually the term entrepreneur was coined in the late 70s, and it's quite an easy concept to understand. So the difference, or what an entrepreneur is, it's somebody having an entrepreneur mindset, but within a corporate. And I think the difference between the 2 is it's somebody innovating within a company, and then somebody who is innovating within their own company. The biggest difference, and I believe I'm an entrepreneur, but it's because I'm a little bit more risk averse. So an entrepreneur has got the biggest risks. All of their eggs are in one basket, and they've got one option and one option only, and that is success. Whereas an entrepreneur has less risk, has got less skin in the game, because they're also guaranteed a paycheck.
Yeah.
What an entrepreneur does have, though, is they've got access to a lot of different resources. So they can have marketing and sales teams or operational teams to help them and help them progress. With an entrepreneur, I think corporates really have to look after entrepreneurs, give them guardrails so they don't go too much outside of the guardrails. But I believe all companies need an entrepreneur.
Thank you. I also agree with that. Natalie, what would you add on to that when it comes to the similarities or the differences between the two concepts?
So if I can just go one step back. When I was preparing for this, I was reading an article and they asked 3 questions, right? What does it take to become an entrepreneur? And the 3 were, do you enjoy selling? Are you resilient? And are you interested in solving other people's problems or finding a gap in the market? So when I was at university, I was brave. You hear about Bill Gates and everybody in the garages doing their stuff, and you're like, that can be me. I don't have to finish this qualification. I'll go out there, I'll do my thing. Not prepared, not knowing, and when I was reading those questions, I'm like, I don't like selling, I can't sell. Do I really have something that is solving a problem or there's a gap in the market? I just thought what I learned I can go do, and then the other one was resilience. And when you're young, resilience is not really something you build over time, and you don't really have it. And, I said, okay, I don't really have to finish university. My mother's probably listening, but anyway. I'll go work, and then I'll find my way. Working, don't need to do this, don't need to finish it, was boring. The work was really boring. I was like, I don't like this. Recons, I'm in finance, so recons is not for me. Decided, there's opportunities, let me go abroad, let me go and do something. And the one question everybody kept on asking me, it's like, what do you do? Now I want to do my own thing. What do you bring? Well, I'd like to do but why you? Couldn't start answering those questions. Life happened, had to go back, realize, finish off your qualification, join corporate, and then started working my way through there. So it's one of those things that's a matter of timing, of when. You can do both. You might have to start with the one and get to the other. Or you might start with the one and never get to the other because you realize it's not for you. So it's just that, So I just thought, just to say that, we try, keep on trying. You never know where you're going to land up. But hey, in terms of differences, I think I was looking at, I said 6 R's. So resilience, you really have to be resilient if you want to be an entrepreneur. Risk, reward, resources, the rules. You have a lot of responsibility as well that is on you alone. And if, that you need that holistically at the same time. So it's one of those things that if you do have that, go ahead. Just saying, find your place, find the timing, take your time, self-aware, ask yourself the question so that you do know, and then you know when you're ready to do it.
And thank you for that. It's quite insightful because I think people often think that you're either or. You cannot be both, and you kind of need to decide. But I guess with every season of your life, it requires a different version of yourself, and you might show up as an entrepreneur in one, but also then show up as an intrapreneur in another. Heidi, how would you sort of, tell us that we can pick up whether are my strengths more leaning towards an entrepreneur or intrapreneur? How do we know what we are?
Yeah, I think, it's so interesting because I think, to Natalie's point as well, is that you absolutely can be both. Yeah. I think in the modern age that we live in, a lot of people have got a side hustle going down. And those side hustles can often become fully fledged businesses and very successful businesses over time. So I think that, and that's where you've got that entrepreneur spirit. And there's often people that have got great ideas. They've got huge amounts of creativity and innovation, and they're those people that just absorb all that information, that curiosity that Nicole spoke about. But they can be risk averse. I mean, Jed spoke about being risk averse, and those are the people that then do exceptionally well in corporate organizations because they've got those guardrails and they've got the security of a large organization, but they've got the opportunity to have the mindset about being an entrepreneur and hence then being termed an intrapreneur. And I think in business these days, regardless of whether it's your own business or whether you're working in a corporate business, you've got to have that hustle, that ability to think on your feet, to take the risks, to think differently, to innovate. I mean, business transformation is all about businesses can't remain what they were last year or 5 years ago. They've got to continue to innovate. They've got to continue to look at new opportunities. And hence, even if people don't think that they're entrepreneurs, I think so many more people are actually behaving like entrepreneurs because the landscape and the environment requires it from all of us, whether you're on your own or whether you're living in a corporate organization.
And guys, it's really tough to be an entrepreneur, right? Because I think with the failing of businesses, there's a lot of discouragement and you feel like, oh no, I can't do it. But I think for somebody, that is failing at either or, what sort of advice would you give them, as young people in terms of continuing or even diversifying or crossing over to explore those options?
Yeah, I think, corporates always look for people that have got that come from work backgrounds that are multifaceted, because it shows that you've got experience in many different ways. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur twice in my career, and in both instances sold the businesses. And one of the key things that those businesses looked for when they bought what was my small business was the fact that my skills were quite diversified, because I had to be the accountant and the salesperson and the presentation person and the tea girl as well. So I had to do everything, and by having that background and that experience, you can slot into so many different areas and you can bring so much to the table when you're working in a corporate environment. So I think, and I sold my first business and I went into, I'm not sure agencies or the creative industry is corporate, but we like to think sometimes we are, but other times we're not. And I stayed with a business for 14 years, also another big corporate group. Was on my own again for 3 years, and I have now been part of the Publicis group for nearly 9 years. And I love being part of the Publicis group because I still consider myself, and I don't call myself an entrepreneur, I still call myself an entrepreneur in that environment. So I think, again, you've got to be able to be flexible, and going back to the point around change, embracing change and using it to your benefit. Because I know it can be daunting, but there's always a reason for it. And if you can find that nugget within it and hold it tight, you can go forward.
Absolutely. And if to bring it back to you, Asif, you spoke about obviously technology and the digital skill in your introduction, and I think I want to ponder on that, the importance of this skill within these two, facets of life, entrepreneur and intrapreneur, but also what other critical skills do you believe that, entrepreneurs need to succeed in such a competitive environment?
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally agree with what Heidi and what's been said here already. I think sort of the distinguish between the two is kind of very narrow. When you look at the corporate world, I think the corporate world would love to have more entrepreneurs enter into it because that's what they need, right? It's just to help Heidi, not from having to be the tea girl and the salesperson and this. We need more help. So, having more entrepreneurs into the business definitely helps that. But from a technology perspective, obviously, looking at our industry, what really helps organizations or startups or entrepreneurs to get going is to really align closely with those technologies, not just from a sales perspective or from a technical perspective, but really engaging with those organizations, really getting to be trained and certified through them, because those are the characteristics that companies look for when they want to do business with you. Unfortunately, it's a reality, right? So it's not about distinguishing between good or bad, but it's really to identify, those traits that give people the qualities that companies need to be comfortable that doing business with you is the right thing. And I think so that's so important that we need to invest in our businesses. So investing in that part of your business and skills development is an ongoing thing. It's not just once when you're developing your business and then moving forward, but also financial skills, right? We shouldn't forget that the importance of financial skills, like we say again, people enter the business either as a technical person or as a salesperson or as something. You come with some quality or some skill that you bring to the game, right? But that's not enough. You need to start to develop the other parts of your business, right? So it's not just starting the business from your garage, and that's kind of what makes me successful because Bill Gates did it or Apple did it. It's more than that, right? So it's about bringing all the qualities that you need in order to be successful. So one is bringing the business skills, the financial skills, the technical skills, but also the growth mindset, right? Is starting to be able to transverse your thinking. So bringing the combination of your entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship into your business and not just kind of focusing only on the day-to-day numbers of your business and how do we get there, but really trying to look externally and understand how you can innovate your business. As we say, transformation is an everyday journey in your business, right? And as entrepreneurs, you guys understand it better than anyone else. As youth, you understand it better than anyone else. Well, it's the space of technology and the speed of technology and where that's going. So how do you keep up with it and how do you continue to catch the next wave? So I think so there's a definitely intersect between the two. And the opportunity, obviously, as I said, to get recognized out there and to really stand out in a very competitive world is to be the best. Always to find yourself to be the best at what you do. And to do that, really dig deep, understand your industry well that you're in, and really try and get to the top of that as quickly as possible. And as I said, from an IT perspective, align very quickly with the technology partners that you have, get certified in the technologies, and work with them in terms of their partnership programs, and they will help you get there very quickly. And that's how you differentiate yourself.
Absolutely. And you've mentioned such key elements there that we need to ponder upon. So I'm going to go straight into the Q&A session. So if you do have any questions, please do raise your hand in the room, and then our team will come to you and we'll take that question. And while we prepare, the questions that are coming in live, we've also got some questions from our YouTube stream that we are going to take. And I think this one specifically I'll pose to you, Nicole, where it says that, is education still important if you're looking to be an entrepreneur? And this one is from Modise on YouTube.
Yeah, what an interesting question. So firstly, I want to just build on the point you just raised. I mean, for me, it first starts with attitude. And to come back to the point, right, attitude of just continuous learning. Yeah. So continuous learning can come in many forms. It can come in relationships. It can come in experiences. It doesn't always have to be, a classic education, a formal education as such. In fact, when we're looking out for youth, we actually put attitude and curiosity and natural ability to want to learn, for me, ahead sometimes even of the more formal education. And why is that? Because exactly as you said, the world is so intense. The resilience that you need to be able to make it and stay on top of the changing world is more important. The formal part we can teach, we can expose, and we can learn. But having said that, of course it helps. Having the formal education part is indeed a big step up. And I think this is also where we as corporates can also step up more. So how do we create those opportunities for education, formal or other? And we are really heeding that call as Nestlé. How do we create an opportunity for our youth to be exposed to education? And then just a final word. I think for me, the education part also comes with a vulnerability. So also being okay that you might not know, and then acknowledging that you need to go and do the heavy lifting. You need to go and do the learning. You need to go and either have a career change or go and acquire some new skills. And when we're vulnerable, we're learning and we're always growing.
Absolutely. And I think if somebody's wrestling with vulnerability here and is really struggling with it, Brené Brown, a very great author, speaks a lot about vulnerability and the ability that it has to just, skyrocket every aspect of your life if you allow yourself to be in the battlefield, if you allow yourself to be in the arena. We've got another question from Luto, and I think I'll pose to you, Bruce, on YouTube. She's asking, what resources are available for entrepreneurs to remain consistent and competitive? She is a makeup artist. I know it's a very female and feminine area.
I'm good, Luanda. You know what I've realized? There's two parts to that question that I want to answer. And the first is that all of us, the youth especially, are absolutely in tune to it. the amount of information, communities, groups, digitally, in person that are available now for you to consume if you just reach out to consumer to enable yourself to enhance your skills and to grow your entrepreneurial business and to engage with like-minded people is immense. So I think that the first thing that you've got to do is don't wait. Reach out, find out who it is, where they are, and become involved in those communities to ensure that you get as much of that sort of similar support and advice that you can across those common groups. Luanda, just remind me of the question again. There was a second point, and it was very important for me.
Competitive and consistent.
It was about collaboration. The one thing that I have learned going forward, and Hasif and Heidi also mentioned it, the rate of change in business is unbelievable at the moment. I mean, the group of people sitting on these chairs at the moment, I think even 10 years ago, people expected us to know everything that's going on within our organizations. But I can honestly say, I don't know. So the second piece that you have to have from a skill and resource point of view is the ability to network with other people who can contribute to your solution, because the rate of change necessitates and says to us that we are not going to know it all individually. So it's a very important point. I mean, we've sort of going down this agile journey within AdCorp, and I tell you, it's tough because it takes away the typical hierarchical structure to create an environment where you pick skills necessary for certain projects, and it necessitates collaboration. So for me, there's immense resources available. Connect into those resources. And secondly, don't believe that you have to know it all yourself. Collaborate to find the pieces that connect to make the whole, because the rate of change says that there will be specialists who you need to connect in to make sure that your solution is whole, because you're not going to know it all.
Absolutely. Thank you to Lutho and Sichaba for your questions, and I hope that we have answered them to the best of our ability. And now moving over to you guys. Do we have any questions from the crowd? Please do raise your hand and our team will come to you. There, we've got a question in the front. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Trisha. I'm from the AdCorp group and I'm in marketing. So I'm not very youthful, so I come with a bit of experience, but I'm at a stage where I'm keen to hear what were your challenges along the way? Like, there must have been many, and obviously you overcome them because you're here today. But what was the thing that drove you to overcome them, and how did you actually overcome them? Because it's coming to that stage in the career where I'm facing that slowly, and it's you have to find that within you to actually overcome these challenges. So I'm keen to hear what you overcome and how you overcame them to persevere and to continue to where you are today. Thanks.
Thank you for your question, Trisha. I'm going to throw this one to Jade and then bring it back here to Natalie to just share one or two challenges that you may have faced in your career and how you overcame that.
Yeah, so a very good question. I think I'm not going to give specific challenges. I'm facing a few very big challenges now at the moment, which I'm trying to deal with. So I think the big thing is we've got to... For me, there's three things that I try and live by, and it is fail fast. So fail, because that's the only way you learn. If I look back at all the challenges, if I look back at all the highlights in my career, in my life, it's all out of failure, because you learn so much about yourself and what to do and how to move forward. The only thing is fail fast. Don't fail too long. And then. This I've stolen from Denzel Washington, but fall forward. Take what you've learned in the failure, fall forward, start again. Fall forward, start again. And the last one is pivot. So fail fast, fall forward, and pivot. And I think somebody said it earlier, be vulnerable. I'm always vulnerable. You don't know the questions, you don't know the answers. Network, ask people for help, get a mentor or a coach, and ask other people, because they can try and help you. So my advice is fail fast, fall forward, and pivot.
And yes, guys, Jed is a male and he's an executive and he is vulnerable. It can happen. It's possible. It's allowed. It's welcomed and it will propel you. What about you, Natalie?
Lots of challenges. I think persistence. You have to be persistent and curious. And when you're curious, there's a lot of work that comes with it. You need to be ready to do that work. And, no matter how small that task is, the quality has to go into it because you never know who's watching. And that's what people will probably remember you for. It's not just wanting to be the highlight of the show. Yeah. Every time it's what you can do in the background and be that team player to help others come together as well. So it's a combination of things that you have to do, and you have to be aware of your environment. Understand your environment, because in understanding your environment, you would know where to tap in, where are the gaps, and that's how you can also show up for other people to see. But hard work, quality of work is important because that's what we will be remembered for, and to show up whenever the opportunity is there.
Absolutely, thank you for that. We've got another question from our audience.
Good morning. My name is Kahleo, currently engaged in cybersecurity. My question in particular with regards to entrepreneurship, for the youth especially, what advice do you have with regards to the fear of failure? How would you advise them to approach entrepreneurship in such a way that it's relevant for South Africa firstly? And how do they approach it practically to make their experience such that they can actually build a successful business that actually generates revenue and hires people? Because at the end of the day, it's one thing to have a business or have a side hustle, but it's another thing to have a business. So how would you advise the youth to approach or to tackle the fear of failure and then successfully put the building blocks towards building a successful entrepreneur or a business?
Thank you, Katlego, and thank you for actually now introducing us to a very common topic of side hustles. And we hear it a lot, have a side hustle, you need to have 7 additional streams of income and so forth. So let's give it to Natalie, and I think, Bruce, you'd also be in quite a good position to just wrap it up for us. Nicole, sorry.
Okay, sure. So firstly, your question has 2 parts for me. So the first part is the fear. And I think Jed just touched on it, right? It's actually unhealthy not to have the fear. And for me, it's how you channel it and what you're doing with it. And I think to build on Bruce's point, given how tough the business environment is now, whether it's your own business, your own idea, or whether you're in a corporate, channeling that fear and having scenarios and options for yourself. Sometimes that's how we manage fear, but that's how I do it, right? It could go this way, I'll have a plan. It could also go that way, have a plan. So I think for me, use your fear would be my guidance, and channel that, scenario plan your outcome so that, again, fear becomes diminished if you have options. That's been my philosophy. And then to come back to Nestle's role, and I think we said it earlier, we really need to continue to step up as corporates. And for us here specifically, to come back to your point on the side hustle, we've been very intentional about using the Nestle for Youth programs to create opportunity. And I think that's probably the most topical point for our youth is how do we create those space? How do we find those hustles? How do we generate those opportunities? So we're really excited, actually, that the work that we're doing now under the program is really centered in 3 areas. So we've got the agripreneurship options. We've also, of course, got everything to do with intrapreneurship. And then we've got big programs now on employability. And just to share a few, I've got 2 or 3. So the first one is Hatcher. Interestingly, what we love about youth is the idea is there. We just need to facilitate the connection between corporate and the idea. In this case, Hatcher is an open innovation network. So we actually we put a business problem into the world digitally, and then we call for innovators, entrepreneurs to come towards the business problem. We've done a few iterations. In one business problem, we had about 1,700 entrepreneurs come towards that idea, share solutions, and then, of course, the business problem gets solved. It's a win-win. And then the final one would again be finding those opportunities to create the side hustle. For me, they are not always structured. And that's where I think as corporates we struggle a little, right? If we can create the space, But you also need to help us and challenge us to create mechanisms. One such other one now would be our partnership with the Branson Foundation. Yeah. So we've just created a new program for the Agri Prize, where we want young individuals interested in agriculture to lean in again with their ideas and facilitate an opportunity to see those ideas through support, through coaching, through funding. And again, on the African continent, 700-800 ideas that came forward, and we were able to again afford funding, afford prizes to those individuals that want to take their side hustles forward without fear and of course with conviction.
Guys, how many of you want to go work at Nestle? I know, right?
The HR department doesn't need to do any more work.
Yeah. We are all here. We are ready. I hope you know. Nudge, nudge. Bruce, anything else to add to that?
Yeah, so I'm going to reflect on my journey, Luanda, and the first part of the question was around fear. And this is, again, lived experience. Generally, as you get older, your responsibilities grow. I mean, I think about my own life. I have 3 children and education and all these good things that cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
When you are young, relatively, you have less to lose. So if I reflect back on my own entrepreneurial journey, I wish I had been bolder with the fear that I had. Because relatively, your chance to take risk and the chance of success and the chance of large loss is far more easily managed when you're a younger person than when you're an older person. So my first piece of advice is, yes, it is fearful, but believe me, you have less to lose now as a young person, and give it a full go, as opposed to maybe taking an entrepreneurial journey later in your life. The second thing that I wanted to say was, at a very base level, try and mitigate your fear by 2 items that certainly hurt me at the time. And the first was, be absolutely clear in the most simplistic way about what your product costs and what you're selling it for. And the second thing is, be clear about how you're collecting your cash and what is the agreement that you've made with whoever you are selling your product to in terms of recovering cash. So, mitigate fear by just covering those very basic financial elements. Do not let those 2 pieces run away from you. And if I reflect on myself as a young person, I didn't realize how important cash was to the equation of any business at the time. So embrace the fear, but go for it. Far more businesses are spawned by young people because there is less to lose, and you must take that opportunity when you can. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, lovely. I think we're going to take 2 more questions. We don't have much time, so we are going to keep it brief. Ready?
Hi, everybody. My name is Busanati. I'm an intern at Nestle. Firstly, I just want to say how lovely it is to just hear leaders identify themselves as either intrapreneurs or entrepreneurs. And my question to the panel is, for the youth, it's always so difficult to try find your place either in corporate or in any industry that you're trying to get into. And I'm someone that's trying to find my place in corporate because it's in line with what I'm studying. I've always been very business-oriented and commerce, and it's definitely something that I do enjoy, but I never limit myself because I have other talents as well. So I'm trying to get into the beauty industry as well. And that would fall as a side hustle, but I also want to turn it into a business. So my question is, as much as you've identified yourselves as just intro or more entre, how do you find, or how do you navigate yourself in trying to find your place in both the worlds and not just choosing one or the other?
Thank you for that question. I see we've got a lot of, beauty people. I think the makeup industry doesn't know what's coming. And I think, Heidi, how would you answer that?
So I think, I often think of myself as being a little bit unique because I generally am not the best person to follow the rules. Because I think that a lot of individuals and the way that business has evolved over the last number of years it allows for the employees or for you as the entrepreneur to really carve a path for yourself and to work that path by collaborating, by engaging, and by talking through what your needs are, what your desires are, what your ambitions are from a career point of view. I think gone are the days where you had a performance review once a year and you were hoping that the most important part was whether you were going to get a salary increase in the dying minutes of that performance review. But these days, it's about engaging with leaders. It's about where you see yourself within the organization, and again, asking for help to push you in the direction that you want to go in. And you might push yourself and have somebody and a partner and a mentor within the business and a leader within the business that helps you to get there. And then you might decide, actually, I've made a mistake. And that's okay. It's absolutely fine to make a mistake and then go, actually, I thought finance was for me, but actually it's not. I'm way more passionate about people and HR as an example. And allow yourself to recreate that path for yourself. And it's the same with entrepreneurship, I think, in that, going back to having a plan and knowing exactly what you've got to offer. And again, sticking to it, collaborating, all the key nuggets that have come out from all the speakers this morning. It's around seeking advice and seeking support and seeking mentorship, whichever journey you choose, whether it's an entrepreneurship journey or whether it's an intrapreneurship journey. It's ultimately all around collaborating and having those mentorship and finding the people to guide you and give you a steer. I hope that's answered your question.
Thank you so much for that. So we will be taking the last question from the crowd, but please do continue sending us your question and we'll have our panel of senior leaders then answer those and we'll post them on social media. Final question.
Good morning, everyone. I wrote down my question because I was afraid of forgetting it. My question is that, as we all know, we were faced by a pandemic and everything was on a standstill. How did you manage to find your feet again post-COVID as an entrepreneur?
Thank you for that question, Nicole.
Well, firstly, we are probably only now realizing the magnitude of what we have been through as a human race. And sort of we're coming up for a bit of air and we're starting to see and find just how COVID is manifesting itself, the aftermath, I would say, of COVID. But what I am energized by is what COVID has given us. It has given us digital transformation. It has given us hybrid working worlds. It has given us a chance to do things differently. The questionable 5-day corporate life has ended. It doesn't exist anymore. And so we're excited because I think a post-COVID reality is bringing a new set of skills. To come back and answer your question, what I think got us through, again, it's resilience for me. As much adversity as we faced personally in our families, dealing with loss, dealing with change, South Africans and Africans are naturally resilient. So I think our continent is going to come out of this pandemic stronger. I think that entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, corporates, the business sector are going to be even more powerful coming through. So I'm an optimist and I see the future very bright post-COVID. But I'm also challenging, I think as many of us are, that there's some things that we don't want to lose in terms of the lessons that COVID has taught us. Absolutely. I hope that answers your question.
And Asif, how would you respond to that question?
Well, I think so. Transformation has shown us, obviously, what is possible. Our CEO said that we saw 2 months of digital transformation, 2 years of digital transformation take place in 2 months from most organizations, and that was so true across the world. But what that showed us, obviously, that humans are resilient, people are resilient, and I think so that was the most important trait that came out of it. We persevered, we continued, and we made the best of it. And I think so as we come out of that, it's how we leverage this experience that we've had. The question or the point about learn fast and go forward quickly, is the idea that we need to take from this year. Is what have we learned out of this whole COVID that we can apply? Because it's transformed the world. Keep in mind, businesses have transformed. Businesses have changed from what they were to what they are today. So we've got to keep that mindset that makes sure that, that we continue to drive forward. So, there's always that saying about taking a bad experience and making a good thing out of it. It's like learning from your experiences and moving forward, or failing and moving forward. It's all the same. It's what we've come through and what we've been able to show. So we should all sit here and kind of be proud of ourselves, of where we've gotten to as the human race, as people. But just remember that to go forward, we've got to continue to persevere. And that would be my advice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope that did answer your question. Thank you so much for all your questions. Please do keep them coming. We will be answering them on social media platform. So I'm going to get some closing remarks from our speakers, and we're going to close off. Jed, let's start with you. Any parting words and parting shots for the young people?
Yeah, I was going to have some, but I've changed my mind. While everyone, while my esteemed panel was busy talking, I wrote down a few words, and I just want to leave the audience with these words because I love them. So receptive, so be receptive to change. Lean in, hustle, be flexible, embrace change, be curious, have a growth mindset, innovate, attitude, vulnerability, persistence, be intentional, and collaboration. It was all those are big words that leaders have used. I think they're all such important words, and I think good advice. So if those words resonate with me, I hope they resonate with the audience. So, that's just very good words, very good leadership up in the panel, and I hope that everyone's learned from it.
Thank you very much, Jed. Bruce?
Just to this team of people, you are the future. I was on a podcast recently with a guy from Kenya, and he was just explaining how post-COVID and all things digital, Africa has opened up to the world as an available population to embrace. So really the future's yours. It's about action, it's about change, it's about speed of execution, it's about attitude, and it's just such a wonderful time to be a youthful person. So yeah, just take it on, and we look forward to what you bring to all of us through the years that you offer to the communities that you serve. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Luanda.
Natalie?
For my side, dream big. Opportunities are out there. Work hard, but work smarter. Collaborate, and I would say ask for help. Ask for it, get mentors if you need to get mentors, just to make that journey a lot faster for you and smoother for you. You don't always have to learn from your own mistakes. You can learn from others. But overall, dream big.
Thank you. Dream big. Any parting shots from you, Nicole?
Absolutely. I think for us, we agree, Bruce. We think Africa's the future. We're excited about how Africa is rising, and we only see optimism ahead on the continent. We see that you are the answer. We think that the youth is going to be that Africa's unlock will come from the power of our youth. And then just finally, it's in you. And I want to go back to one of the last questions. It's not that you fit into corporate. We are looking for you to be authentically you and genuinely you. So come, be yourself, allow that passion to flow, and I agree fully. It's just within your hands, so go and grab it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Asif?
I'll leave it at the future is now. I like that term because I think so we need to stop looking at for what's tomorrow. I think so we need to understand that we have to start doing it right now to get there. So for me, it's kind of #start now is really where you need to put your peg in the ground and start moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lastly, Heidi?
I would say show up. Show up the best that you can be every day. And in order to be the best, everybody's spoken about all those things that you can reach out for. But to be your best is to take care of yourselves, both mentally and physically, and to just show up and be present and give it your all every day. And it might seem tough, but the break will happen. You will get a break. So that's where that resilience comes in. Thank you.
And that sums up everything that we spoke about and all the insights and valuable nuggets that we've gotten, from our panelists. Thank you so much for engaging. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you to our esteemed panelists for being here with us and for the alliances for partnering with us once again for another year to contribute to the development of young people. Please do stay behind, mingle, get to meet our panelists. If you still have more questions, we will be taking those offline and also answering on social media. And don't forget, of course, to use the hashtags for the day, which are hashtag CEO&YOUTH Connect, hashtag All4Youth, hashtag Entrepreneurship versus Intrapreneurship. I haven't forgotten about the prizes. We will be announcing the winners on social media, so please do keep an eye out for that. And from myself, it's been incredible. I walked in here as just a moderator, but I'm walking out as a chief moderating officer. My name is Luyanda Duma. Thank you so much for joining us. See you again next year, same place, same time. Thank you. It's very important for us to have access to information, and I think, through the caliber of events and networking and all the resources that All4Youth, does provide on the platform, it's very efficient for young people to make informed decisions that will obviously inform their career and ultimately their lives.
70% of young people living in Africa, or rather youth living in Africa, are unemployed, and we are seeing around about 65% plus of skills gap that currently the continent is struggling with. So alliances such as the All4Youth Alliance are quite important to ensure that we do all we can to help close some of these gaps.
So having tackled topics like youth unemployment before, I think this collaboration is very, very important because it equips young people with the necessary skills to tackle what we can only describe as a very interesting economy right now. So it's very, very important.
It seeks to actively connect young people to opportunities that they would have otherwise not have access to, especially our young graduates, some of them who are unemployed, especially within South Africa where the unemployment rate is so high amongst our youth.
Young people need a space at the table, and the Alliance for Youth creates various platforms for young people to help them enter into the workforce.
I feel that the younger generation and the youth need to feel safe and feel accepted when they're studying, in the work that they get into, in society as a whole. So it's great that All4Youth can help the youth to do that, can help the younger generation do that. So they can go to a space where they can be like, yes, I feel accepted. I can learn from this initiative. I can learn from the conferences that they have.
It's equipping the youth of South Africa with the necessary skills to become workplace ready and build a meaningful career for themselves.
Cool. So an entrepreneur is a person that obviously sees a project or a business from start to finish. So this is the person that has the big idea, the visionary, the one, that wants to, execute the creative ideas, but also make it profitable.
Young individuals living out their passion by looking at an alternative career choice, by becoming an entrepreneur or intrapreneur within business.
The risk takers who become their own bosses, and the safe players who are trusted by their bosses to become their own bosses.
An entrepreneur would be a young person, probably like myself, who's currently working in corporate.
Which I think that it kind of makes those two worlds quite intertwined. The world of intrapreneurship preps you for entrepreneurship because you build the confidence to be able to start spotting gaps and then being able to exercise that going forward.
This conversation is important because
they need to find a place in society. And growing up, you're not sure what there is and where it could be. And you also feel like, oh, I need to get a job. And when that opportunity doesn't arise for you, you feel stuck.
It's very important to have this conversation because young people can see that they aren't limited to a specific way of doing things, especially within their careers. So if somebody wants to embark on working within corporate, they can still do so, but they can still be creative, build value, add value where they are. Or if somebody wants to create something from scratch, they can still do that. There are tools involved that can help them to do that.
When I was in high school, for example, the key that we were taught, or the one thing that we were taught, was study hard so you can work for a good company, so you can get a good job. And I think as we are transitioning more and more into the new world, we are realizing that, there are more opportunities for young people to actually employ themselves.
The entire world of entrepreneurship is about confidence. And it's important that young people get the idea of being able to be confident enough to start pitching ideas, to themselves really, as well, to be able to see that the idea of being able to come up with ideas, the nature of being able to come up with ideas is not being afraid. So I think that it builds the confidence, and that's a really important key point.
It's important because I think it affects ultimately, the biggest area in our lives, which is our career. Because I think we spend so much time at work that it becomes who we are. So if we can get the right information, get the right resources to help us make the right decisions about our future, then we are on the right track.
I'm looking forward to this year's CEO&YOUTH Connect to be, because I think apart from the fact that we'll have a panel jam-packed with more females this time around, I think the conversation we are about to have this year is very important. I think young people need to realize their power in terms of opportunities that they can create for themselves and those around them. And this conversation that we are tackling this year is very critical, because I think it's a step in the right direction to start creating those conversations for young people to start creating those opportunities for themselves.
Firstly, I'm looking forward to hosting and moderating, since this is my first time, and the event is actually happening for the third time running. So I'm super excited to be a part of it, but also most importantly to ensure that, I carry the conversation in such a way that young people can actually get the information, that they need from these CEOs, and connect in a way that will be, fruitful for them, efficient for them, and help them make the right choices in their careers.
So I feel CEOs come with the host of knowledge, but what I want to hear about is stories about their challenges and how they overcome it. Because youth are facing challenges, let's be real about it. So the CEOs can give them advice about how you can overcome these challenges. Not about how you work your way up the ladder, how you can earn money fast, that type of thing, but how you overcome these daily challenges to get to a better place, to get to a leadership role, and how you can actually progress.
The fact that there have been two others before that happened online, in this beautiful world of Zoom and Teams, and having met people only as pulsating balls of purple, it's going to be really it's going to be a different experience for this particular edition of it. But I think it's going to be really awesome and engaging because it's going to be in person.
I think read a lot, remain teachable. It's something that will really help you, and I think it's something that I did, but I think I would have to reiterate more that remain teachable. I think in a world that's fast growing and fast changing, the best thing that you can equip yourself is with some sort of, education, whether it's reading a book, informing yourself about industry trends, where the world is going. And I think being sort of very intentional within your career as well, and how it's shifting, how can you prepare yourself in that sense. So no longer, can you be complacent with just the qualification that you got 5 years ago, but 5 years later, how can you then position yourself to still become relevant in that industry? So remaining teachable, exposing yourself, networking, and always having a mentor on my side.
Sure. I would say research. I personally, when we left high school to go into universities, what we followed was a hearsay, what our parents thought was it, or what our teachers thought was it. And I think, you know, the advantages of young people and the times that we live in, we live in a world where that has so much information in terms of, you know, assessing yourself as an individual, assessing the kind of growth that you want to see, your career space that you want to get in. So when I say research, I mean, you know, before stepping into the next stage of your life, be either it's going to university, be either it's starting work, I would say equip yourself with as much knowledge as possible. There's a lot of programs out there that are also beneficial that can help you maybe assess your strengths, that will kind of help shape, you know, where you probably are a fit in as well. So do as much research as possible in terms of the career that you want, in terms of the studies that you want to do, and so forth. And I think that will probably then equip your next move going forward. That will be my message.
So my advice would be to constantly push yourself and to not limit yourself to what you've studied, to always open up a space for learning in any skill, in any method, to always have that learning thing in your life. And I think that's very important in terms of your career and within your own life to be successful.
To be honest, I still don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out as I go. But to love yourself and to live in confidence and to create your own success measures and not according to their society's measures.
Just think outside the box. You know, you don't have to make change immediately as you enter a company or that type of thing, but just to have a bit more confidence. And I'm glad to say that I'm in a better space now with that, but I just wish that, you know, I would given myself that push initially. So I'm glad there's, you know, initiatives like All4Youth who can give the youth that push to say, hey, there's someone behind you, have that confidence, you can do it.
Make mistakes. I would tell them that it's okay to make mistakes, because in your youth those mistakes don't hurt as much, and the consequences are still quite small. And once again, it builds you up. It builds the confidence to be able to get to a place where you never stop making mistakes, but you can start being a little more calculating about how and when to be able to start making mistakes. But don't be afraid to make mistakes. I think it's that's important.
Firstly, not to be so hard on myself. Be kinder to my younger self. Be able to learn from mistakes so that there is going to be growth at the end of it. And just have fun. I think sometimes we take life too seriously, and just let your hair down, be yourself, and roll with the punches.
I talk a lot, if you haven't noticed. So I love the idea of creating things. I've always liked the idea of writing, and imagining things and inventing things, and the idea of creativity always allows me that every day. I get to invent worlds that don't exist. I get to invent characters that don't exist. But at the same time, I get to watch other people around me do that. So that makes every day worth it.
Ooh, actually, I mean, nothing inspired in the beginning. I just ended up in this career. But I think because I'm such an intentional person, I always want to find purpose in a space that I'm in. So when I started my career, straight from matric, I wanted to go into forensics, not really knowing that, you know, I'm very much afraid of blood and crime scenes. I mean, it seemed fascinating on TV. But I think when I, stumbled into my course, which was industrial psychology at the University of Johannesburg, I was so fascinated by the idea of studying human behavior in the workplace. And I thought to myself, as somebody that loves working with people, loves sharing information, and loves sort of molding and guiding, people when it comes to important things about their life, this was, sort of like a calling. So I always say that my career chose me. I didn't choose my career. But I think it was also very important for me to be quite intentional, because I understand the importance of, industrial psychology, which is the study of human behavior, and also HR and what that can do for somebody within an organization. So I get to develop young people. I get to help people structure their careers, but also make the right decisions and grow within their careers. And I think there's nothing more important and fulfilling than having to do that on a daily basis.
My love for people. I really have a passion for people and wanting to see people grow and develop. So naturally, going into human resources and talent was a natural step for me.
It's a passion for me. I believe, low-key, it's also what I was born to do. So yeah, I really, really enjoy what I do, and we're looking forward to empowering more and more young people in Africa.
Entrepreneurship is very important in that I believe it's the foundation in which a lot of our future brands will be built. It doesn't limit young people to just working in a corporate space, but it allows them to have creative ideas and to use those creative ideas to build businesses. And they can also, in that sense, employ other young people, which will add on the economic growth of South Africa.
It is important because we need to look at alternative sources of income. You know, not look at the traditional route of building a career within an organization. So there's so many opportunities out there, and it's about finding them, identifying the need and the gap, and making the most of it. So it's about growth.
So we're constantly having conversations about where people are going to get jobs from. And I think that, you know, going back to the topic of this year's conference, the idea of entrepreneurship seeming so daring, and it feels like such a daunting thing. It's important for people to understand that, you know, sometimes you have to make something in order for things to grow, as opposed to walking towards something that somebody else has grown. Both have merits to them, but I think entrepreneurship also allows us to grow ourselves as people, grow what the image of the country becomes, what is available to everyone. So more often than not, it's actually, as self-serving as it is, it's also quite generous. It's quite a generous thing to do, to grow things for other people.
Job creation. I think, you know, with, you know, people having, and young people having the ability, you know, to craft and start businesses that one day we hope will, you know, empower and also employ a lot of other young people is such a great, you know, way to sort of get out of this hellhole that we're in. When it comes to unemployment, especially within young people. So I think it's very important in the sense that it does sort of play a part in our economic you know, performance as a country, but also just creating those jobs that we don't have readily available for young people.
As much as, you know, businesses can create some sort of opportunities for young people, agripreneurship and entrepreneurship are probably the segments that we need to be focusing a whole lot more to help create or close the gap of unemployment in the country right now. If we are looking at the next level of people who will rescue us from this economic downfall that we are facing as a country, entrepreneurship and agripreneurship are definitely it, and we need to do as much as we can to help equip young people in the space to be able to achieve it.
It's very important for us to have access to information, and I think, you know, through the caliber of events and networking and all the resources that All4Youth, you know, does provide on the platform, it's very efficient for young people to make informed decisions.